cool bazaar I used to go. But since I was introduced to Bacchanal, they say I lose. When I drop it hot and I whine it on top the speaker box and I grind it, and I don't want to stop and they call it. Stop doing it. But I looser than, loose it, I sweeter than, juice it. This caramel harvest, so damn loose. Get loose away, get loose away, get loose away, loosen your way, kill them with the pain.
Okay, hi, good evening. How are you doing? This is going to be a very relaxed sort of session. So hi Janelle Speth, hi Dion, Mervin, Ali, Marvin, Bunny. We're just gonna chill. I mean, yes, there are things that I want to discuss. Yeah, this one, don't be that loose. I will be as loose as I need to be. Bonsoir Gita. Ça va? Ça va bien? Hi Monifi, hi Peter, Vienna, Christopher, Adrian, and everybody else at home who not necessarily on the live, or when I say on the live, who not necessarily on the comment thread. Good evening to everybody. Hi Vonette, hi Sharon, hi Carol. This is really cool lady. I'll bounce up this evening. I was walking to the bank and she was driving like a white pickup. I've forgotten her name, but she lives in Diego Martin, and she slowed down the vehicle to say hi to me. So again, I just want to say thanks for the support, thanks for watching, thanks for enjoying. So I'm glad to see that you all enjoyed the first Black Lives Matter session that I would have had last night, where we talked about the first stereotype, which is to do with emancipated people and land use and building communities and stuff. I just want to assure you that there are a couple more shows that I have in the pipeline. So on Friday, we're going to have Dr. Lovell Francis. He's going to be here and we're going to be talking about the myth of Black people and education. So we're going to talk about the history of the education system here, especially in the post-emancipation period, and how the emancipated community here, the formerly enslaved persons, how they went about accessing education and getting themselves educated and being a part of the formal and informal education system. There are a number of other areas that we're going to be tackling. We're going to be tackling Black people and business, and all of the stereotypes that are stuck around Black people and business. Then things to do with beauty and hair. So I want to talk about Black people and beauty, Black people and hair. Storm, all ridiculous, wait for the life to build. My life just come built. My lives on them prefab. I just show up, and by the time I play 30 seconds of music and turn around, there are at least 200 people sitting down on the live. So I don't have to build no live. The live just come built, ready made. So then I'm gonna get some persons who are involved in keeping up our traditional carnival arts or traditional arts like stick fighting. I'm having them come on as well to talk about those things. So there are a number of persons that I'm reaching out to. I want to talk about ancestral trauma. So I already have at least one person, one therapist, one clinical psychologist who is lined up to talk about ancestral trauma and how being descended from persons that went through enslavement would have impacted on all of us. So there are a number of things that we're going to be talking about. But tonight I looser than Lucy. So that being said, since we're talking about my looseness here, let me start here. One, let me ask you this question. Actually, no, fix that, Rhoda. Fix that. Don't let tech guy to come here and ask you questions about your life. Who do you ask is Lucci? Like, I didn't know, but that may be because I don't be at the Hilton. I'm not a hotel. I'm really not a hotel person, right? So the first time I hear about, now I call in the restaurant Lucy. And I'm calling the restaurant Lucy, not because I don't understand how to pronounce the word, but I just think that the owner's position on this pandemic is such that, I had to parody the name of his restaurant, right? So Lucy. Yesterday, the owner of Lucy get vexed that restaurants weren't open. So I don't know if all you know this or not, but whole Friday and Saturday, right? Everybody's speculating about what As of Midnight Tonight, like what would have happened in Saturday's episode of As of Midnight Tonight. So Lucy owner would have been one of those persons who was greatly disappointed. I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't disappointed. I was hoping for a little curbside pickup because God alone knows I'm a fed up cook. I am cooking every day of life. Cooking every day of life is something I stopped doing when I left my mother's house at the age of 21. And thereafter, I would cook when I felt like cooking. Not that I don't like cooking, but I don't like cooking every day. And I don't like to have to be cooking multiple meals every day. So trust and believe. I wanted a little ease with respect to the cooking. And it's been ages. It's been months since I had a little doubles. Yes, Bridget James. Yes. A little curbside doubles. A little stand up on the road and get car exhaust in my face and dust. Right? While I stand up eating doubles on the side of the road. But you see, I recognize that we as a population had privileges here. And we do until we overdo. And we privileges get revoked. Vonnet, I deal with you, listen, I wouldn't say I hate to cook. I hate to have to cook. I hate to be in a situation where if I ain't cook, I can't eat. And right now, if I don't cook, I cannot eat. So I was there like everybody else, kind of hoping, fingers and toes crossed. Me really a fast food girl. So I'm not a big fan of KFC and them kind of things. So there are a couple restaurants that I frequent. One of the restaurants that I frequent, unfortunately, closed this weekend. So from time to time, I'm feeling for a nice seafood pasta. And they have this really lovely seafood soup that they used to do. I would go there. If I felt like taking my mother out for dinner, I would take her to Show Cafe. More so because they had a little open air vibe. So you could go and sit down on the patio and watch the moonlight and get some night air and breeze and thing and watch vehicle pass and, old talk and thing. So, there are restaurants that I frequent. There are restaurants that I go to. And I like sometimes when I finish work at the end of the day, and my work day oftentimes will go up until 7 o'clock in the evening. And I'm not talking about the days that I do in lives with Olia. I'm talking about my other work day. My work day will easily go up until 7, 8 p.m. And sometimes when your work day finish at 7, 8 p.m., the last thing you want to do is go and bubble a pot. And your girl is not a leftovers girl. I don't like to eat food from the day before. Right? I am not a eat food from the day before. You had to blame my mother for that because she raised us in a house where it's hot, fresh meals all the time. So we are accustomed to, if we ain't cooking for ourselves, fresh meals, we are eating fresh meals. So it's not even a situation where I could say to myself, roll up by Barry Finbar Kitchen. Because Barry ain't cooking for nobody but himself these days. And Barry only cooking and putting up pictures of his food and killing me. Killing me. So, like most of you here, I was kind of hoping we would get a little ease now, a little curbside pickup. Not sit down to eat inside any place, right? Curbside pickup. And it didn't happen. And when it didn't happen, there was a weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. people was vexed, grimy to the point where they jump out their whole self on the people hot Facebook. Wait, boy. Do I still have it here? Or that disappear? I feel that's the post that disappear, yes, because I ain't finding the post here. Oh my word. Where Stephen Hadid lost the keys to his whole brain, jump out on the people hot Facebook and indicate that he going and open Lucy. Yes, I know it is Luce, right? For those of you who now showing up, I know it is Luce, but I want to pronounce it as Lucy. So he was going and open up Lucy. And there were other persons who were pretty much in agreement with him. Yes, go ahead, open it up. We go stand up there with you. Now listen, Trinidad is a country, Stephen Hadid, where friend does carry you and they don't bring you back. So you might end up in a situation where kill you dead. You leading a revolution. And it ain't have nobody else behind you when you there charging towards the capital. Because I feel like some of these folks who all of a sudden jumping out the self to talk about, yes, they're doing this and uprising and they're going and breach laws and them kind of things. So I feel these persons, look the post here. I am opening on Monday. The bank calling me. The finance company calling me. Let them come and close me. I have court clothes. All of you have court clothes. Everybody has shirt and tie and everybody has shirt and pants. Even if you have a tie, right? Shirt and pants. Or blouse and skirt. Bodice and frock and thing. So I watched that and I saying to myself, what oppression is he talking about? Well, it's not he who say oppression, right? Is Exposed TT. That's one of those UNC blog pages. It didn't surprise me that one of those UNC blog pages would repost something as I guess I don't want to say salacious as this, right? So Stephen Hadid has decided in his frustration to put up a post to say he opening he business because he under economic constraints. It had anybody who not under economic constraints right now? It had anybody who not really and truly balling because in some form or fashion they have lost some degree of income, some amount of income, or their lives have gone topsy-turvy as a result of the pandemic, and so a number of the freedoms that they would have had from before, they you know, is there anybody who's not been impacted by this? It have people who lost work, lost loved ones as a result of the pandemic, lost, you know, some people, you know, losing their sanity over the pandemic. And I looked on at this and I thought to myself, because on Saturday and Sunday, when people started to jump out themselves, because people was jumping out themselves from early, right? When they hear laundromats going to be open and the construction sector. Nobody wasn't vexed by the construction sector, but it was vexed by the laundromat situation. And I didn't understand why. Because yes, to me it seemed arbitrary, like, okay, laundromats. But why are they so vexed about laundromats? Because I never got the impression that the Prime Minister was going to be looking to open up a whole slew of businesses one time. And I'll tell you why I never got that impression. Not based on anything the Prime Minister himself was saying, but based on the data that was coming out of the presentations Dr. Hines was given and Dr. Abdul Richards was given. Those two presentations. Because I look at those presentations all the time, avidly. So whenever they are up on any of the press conferences doing the epidemiology breakdown and the hospital bed system breakdown, I'm always paying attention and thinking to myself, all right, how are our infection numbers looking and how is the hospital occupancy looking? And when you start listening to what's going on with the infection rate and the hospital occupancy rate, that gives you a sense of what could open up and how much could open up, right? So once you're seeing that the decline is minimal, right? Yes, there is a decline, but the decline is minimal. Then it means that whatever can open up has to be minimal as well. You can't just, free sheet. You can't give everybody free sheet. So it's not a case of as long we've been under restrictions and under lockdown for so long, now it is time to release. It's always ever going to be, we could afford to release based on how well we're doing in terms of infections and hospital occupancy in the parallel healthcare system. It's always ever been about how much load the parallel healthcare system could take. That is what it has boiled down to from the start of the pandemic to now. We have a parallel healthcare system. How much load that system could take. But it seems that Stephen feel that he being punished. And that's how it came across to me. I saw a post from Inshan Ishmael as well that just seemed really racist to me, because it was talking about Chinese and laundromats and who are the people that own laundromats. And I thought, why are you being like that? Because I mightn't understand the logic behind laundromats, but I didn't feel that we needed to attack the group of persons who tend to own laundromats, because we have non-Chinese laundromats operating in the country, right? I'm aware of that because I've used non-Chinese laundromats. But I felt that to use your anger, to use your frustration, to make racist comments, to make hate-filled, angry comments, I mean, oh go on. Pull up your socks now. Especially since, Inshan, you belong to a religious minority group here, because the Muslim community is a religious minority, right, in terms of demographic numbers. And because you're part of a religious minority group here, you ought not to be attacked, right? People shouldn't be attacking you. People shouldn't be coming after you on the basis of religion, those kinds of things. And you in and of yourself ought not to be making nasty comments about any other minority group at all. The statements just make you sound ignorant. And that's what it makes you sound like. Really ignorant. Now I know you're gonna get upset and run in your WhatsApp chat group and run on your page and make whatever comments you need to make. You go through hard, brother. Whatever it is making you feel good about yourself. But I really and truly don't feel like them comments about Chinese people and laundromats was even necessary. It was not necessary. What I do know is there are a number of I think I saw the comment up on Facebook there, where somebody was saying that offshore companies and persons that are working in particular sectors actually need to access the laundry services. I don't know. I saw the comment there. Maybe that's the case. What I do know is, yes, I was confused by it, but no, I didn't feel that it was okay to be lashing out at the Chinese community here just because you associate laundromats with Chinese persons. That's pretty racist. And we have a lot of racist things that we need to discuss this afternoon. We're going to get into those things. So by tomorrow, we will hit 900 persons having passed from COVID-19. And I say that not because I'm anticipating it or looking forward to it, but we have 899 deaths, and the way in which our figures have been going, even though the number of deaths have been, gradually declining, we're still getting deaths. So give or take, somebody gonna pass, which is unfortunate. I see all this saying that OMF on TV6 tonight. So OMF suspension lifted. OMF she get the opportunity to run on the field this evening. Listen, I happy for OMF too bad, yes. Last week we had the SEA exam. And there's something that I drew to the public's attention on my page, but I feel the need to draw it to everybody's attention again. And I want to draw it to everybody's attention again, because a lot of what we discuss in here tonight will be the way in which we engage in and indulge in loose, casual, aggressive behavior, right? So loose, casual racisms, the way in which we casually talk about causing violence and bringing violence down, and we think we could pass it off as a joke. We think we should be able to pass these things off as oh, I was just talking, it was just a figure of speech, when really and truly what we're carrying on with is a lot of very aggressive behavior. So let me give you an example of how we carry on with a lot of very nasty, aggressive behavior and just try to pass it off as something casual. I want you all to take a look at this young man. This is a screenshot of a little boy who was dancing when he was finished with the SEA exam. He was relieved, right? Came out of the school and he was doing a little dance for the cameras. CNC3 caught video of him doing his dance, right? So he's double masked up, and I was like, kudos, props to him, props to his parents who made sure that he was properly well masked up for the thing. So he had on the little surgical mask, and then he had on the face shield, and he was dancing. I mean, you couldn't not be happy looking at him, be happy and relieved about having just sat the exam and gotten the exam out of the way, entirely out of the way. And even though I am in my mid-40s, I remember the relief I felt when I was finished with the SE, it was common entrance when I did it, right? So I remember how relieved I was, because common entrance was like the most pressure-filled exam ever in my life. None of the other exams that I've done between then and now match up to the kind of pressure I had to deal up with for common entrance. So when I see small man little happy dance, I was like, yeah, I could identify with that. Me even sit common entrance, and I real identify with how relieved small man was. And then you had a series of quanks that jump onto the comment thread and just displayed their whole unwashed asses. So take a look at the nasty comments that were made, right? I want all you to see. Some of the comments are not nasty, right? Roger Benito, reach back. Let me tell you something about Roger Benito. Roger Benito has a secret crush on me. That's why he's come and be tooting so hard on the comment thread. Roger is alright. I get it. It's okay. I'll give you a little attention this evening. Might be the only attention you get from me ever in this lifetime. So, we had sensible persons like Wayne Ramdath who said, all the best to you, son. Then you had Mark Johnson, immediately, hope you can dance like that when you get your results, small man, because joy can turn to sorrow in a heartbeat. Take heed. And I was like, what kind of nasty, negative foolishness is that to be saying to the boy? He happy, he relieved that, you know, he has done the exam. So what is with this, you know, this snide, I hope you can dance like that when the results come out? What is that about? Then Bikram Rampasad, who just, you know, his whole unwashed ass. Keep dancing under Rowley, you have no future. Tell me what this child being happy and relieved about having completed the SEA exam, the secondary entrance assessment exam, what that have to do with Rowley and future? What does that have to, why the nastiness necessary? Then you have Josiah Wardley, who says, let we hope he doing that same dance when results come out. So between Josiah and Mark Johnson, you're looking at the two of them and you're thinking to yourself, how hurt and damaged a human being do you have to be that a child dancing in relief from having sat an exam would bother you so much? And of course, how warped and twisted a human being do you have to be, like Bikram Rampasad, that you show up on a thread about a relieved SEA student to make a nasty political statement? But it didn't just end there with their nastiness, because look at what somebody who, a friend of mine, Antonio, so I want all to pay attention to something here. Remember the name Josiah Wardley, right? Look at Josiah Wardley picture. It's a picture of Wonder Woman and Superman and some baby. So that immediately should have given me a clue that this profile might not necessarily be who or what I think it is. Because these days on social media, or these years on social media, you have plenty of people, when they come up with a fake profile, they put all kinds of weird pictures to go with the profile, and pictures that show you, well, you know, it may not necessarily be what you think it is, or they may not necessarily be who you think they are. Let me show you who Josiah Wardley is. Check out who Josiah Wardley is. Josiah Wardley apparently is also somebody called Stacy.Rampasad too. So Stacy.Rampasad too log in with she whole fake profile to run on a CNC thread about a little boy who happy to have completed the SE exam, to make a nasty, snide statement about she hoped the little boy dancing so when he passed exam. Now, part of the casual racism involved there is a microaggressive position, right? Because he's here all the time. Black people only know to beat pan and dance, and you know, we don't beat books, that kind of thing. So you come and you make a snide comment like that under a video of a young child, a young boy dancing, of course making a comment that implies that there's every possibility that he happy and he joyful and he dancing now, but he not likely to be joyful and dancing when results come out, because he not going to be successful at results time. And there's that inherent underlying microaggression there that is linked to assuming that academic achievement is beyond people of color. And I don't understand that kind of sickness. Or rather, I should say, I don't understand why Stacy Rampasad too would have to assume a name that gives the impression she's black, right? That she's male and black, that she's a black male, to go on to a comment thread to say something that is nasty and insidious and subversively racist about a black child. Because what Stacy is doing there, really and truly, is giving the impression that members of the black community in and of themselves are dragging down each other. Because if you went back to that original, let me go back to the original post, right? And I'm talking a little slow this evening because I'm tired. Today was a long day. I just felt like I went from meeting to meeting to meeting and dealing up with a set of foolishness. But I really wanted to come and have this conversation with all of you because Wednesday and Friday I'll be having a different kind of conversation. So these racist quinks, Bikram, and I don't know if Mark Johnson is a fake profile or not, but I will say that Mark's comments, as far as I'm concerned, are quite subversive, if not racist. And Josiah Wardley, right? So Stacey Rampasad too comes disguised as, comes disguised with a name and profile that would suggest that she might be a person of African descent, a male person of African descent, to make nasty comments about a young black male. All to give the impression that members of the black community dragging their own self down. That's a hell of a thing, you know. Hell of a thing. That Stacey Rampasad would go through all of that pressure. Creating a fake profile that is, you know, a different gender and possibly different ethnicity. And you create that whole fake profile to come on to spread hate. Stacey, who hurt you, girl? Who hurt you? Show me on the teddy bear where you get hurt, Stacey. And then after you show me on the teddy bear where you get hurt, try and get yourself some therapy sessions. Like seriously, try and get yourself some therapy sessions. Because listen, things like that just blow my mind, you know. If I come in to cuss you out on social media, and it's not that I don't cuss people out on social media, I come in with my whole self, my whole face, and saying it with my whole chest. Right? Me hiding and ducking to say what is I have to say to you. As a matter of fact, I just come and sit down here in front of camera where they could see me and say everything I have to say with my whole chest. And then once I finish say what is I have to say, I breathe in it off my chest. So I looked at that because to me, SEA, how you could decide that you come in to throw hate at a child who just finished do like one of the hardest exams in his life though? What does it say about you that your personality is so warped that is the level of hate you happy, you comfortable at resorting to? So that was Stacey Rampasad too. Let me go to this person now. I lived through 1990. There are many of you on this live that would have lived through 1970 and 1990. I don't really talk about the 2011 state of emergency because that's an illegal state of emergency, right? That's something that should have never happened. And it happened because Kamala was allowed to do a set of wordlessness here, right? But I needed to talk about this, and I'll tell you why I needed to talk about this. Because this is not one backside. There's not two backside. There's three whole backsides. And it's the first time I really sit down and watch three backside. And multiple assholes all at the same time. So let me explain why I'm saying three backside and multiple assholes. And people go vex, but they could vex all they want to vex. A coup is not something you wish on a country. A coup is not something you wish on a country because civil unrest can lead to military clampdown. Loss of life, loss of business, loss of any number of things. Now I get that there are a whole bunch of persons that are upset about the restrictions and that are frustrated by all of the restrictions linked to this pandemic and the impact of this pandemic on lives and livelihoods. I get that. It is not that I don't get that. I have my days of intense frustration with the public health ordinance, with the restrictions, with any number of things. But I also get that none of this is in making of a government. Nobody in the PNM government right now, the government that in power right now, sat down in 2019 and say, hey, you know what we should do? We should release a virus to cause a pandemic. Nobody sat down in any government, in any country, in any part of the world and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. The government here didn't decide that it wanted to constrain the business community. It didn't decide that it wanted to put the country under the kind of pressure that it is under right now. Because, in all fairness, this is not how anybody actually wants to run a country. But there's a way in which certain members of the population, people who call themselves citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, are behaving and acting as if the government is trying to punish people. Like punish, well, maybe they think it's just them that being punished, right? Maybe in their mind, persons who are in support of the government, people who would have voted for the government, not under any pressure. Honey, me not explain this to all you, any clearer anymore, you know. You see, everybody who resident here right now, if the population is 1.3 million, 1.4 million, whatever is the size of the population, everybody who resident in Trinidad and Tobago right now, feeling the squeeze of the pandemic. It's not all you alone who feeling the squeeze of the pandemic. So everybody who frustrated and wished this could ease up and that could ease up and the other could ease up, all of us dealing up with this. And the mere fact that you are around to complain and post up shit like this on social media means that thus far you are surviving the pandemic. I don't know if you contracted the virus or didn't contract the virus, but you're alive and in a position to be able to get on social media and post up shit. And this ain't regular average shit. This is seditious shit. So Charlene Sammy posts up she shit. Right? Charlene Sammy put up the Abu Bakr, where are you? A coup is needed. Now, we need a coup for. What did the 1990 coup achieve? Because this might be the thing that the Charlene Sammys of this world not paying attention to. But Abu Bakr didn't actually get rid of the government in 1990. So while you might think that a coup is needed, back in 1990, what Abu Bakr and they attempted to do, it wasn't allowed to happen. Why? Because our armed services here stepped in and did what was necessary to maintain stability and an elected, constitutionally elected government. And the Charlene Sammys, the Rodney Glass Aluminium, and the Liesl Dasses of this world somehow seem to think that the solution to whatever their problem is to incite rebellion. So it had me thinking, we have real Trump Trinidadians here, boy. Are they looking to storm the Capitol? That's what's going on there. You're looking to storm the Capitol. People already under pressure as a result of a pandemic. Everybody's movements already curbed and curtailed as a result of a state of emergency to make sure that we ain't gathering and congregating and spreading the virus any further. And you want civil unrest. Wow. But it got even more intense than this. Because if you think it was just that, Liesl Das got very upset about the fact that I shared to my wall her public post. Right? Because Liesl Das shared the public post. So Charlene Sammy put up a public post. Liesl Das shared Charlene Sammy's public post. And I'm going to repeat, seditious, because they basically calling for a coup d'etat. Rodney Glass Aluminium comments and he says, serious, something has to happen to get these MCs out. And Liesl Das comments and she says, my thoughts exactly. So I don't know if she was agreeing with Charlene Sammy's thoughts or if she was agreeing with Rodney Glass Aluminium thoughts. But both of the thoughts dovetailing into one another, right? And then Liesl jumped in my inbox and basically was telling me I had to take down the post. Now, oh my days. Why, boy? Why? So, let me give all you a little taste. After you decide to share something as stupid as that, you reach in my inbox to tell me how I can and cannot post to my wall. So she comes in and she says, you know, I deleted that post since earlier. Can you kindly remove it? Also, thanks. I said, excuse me. And she says, I saw a screenshot of a post I deleted within minutes of sharing. So I said the post was publicly made, not so? And she says, I'm asking if you can remove it, please. I said, I see. And then she says, I'm not looking to promote anything, not hatred, racism, or otherwise. Now, all I watched that post. Because I start to believe, I beginning to believe here is gaslight, this girl gaslighting me. Only watch that post. Charlene Sammy, alright, put up a shout out, right? She put out a bat signal for Abu Bakr. Where are you? A coup is needed. And Liesl Das on that post says, my thoughts exactly. And then she's saying, she's not trying to promote anything. She's not trying to promote hatred, racism, or otherwise. Honey child, it's a whole seditious post you put up on the people hot social media. On the hot Facebooks, right? A public seditious post you put up on the hot Facebooks. And when you get called out, because when somebody call you and tell you, hey, Rhoda Barrett, put it up on she page, you get frightened. And I sure that is what is take place. You ask get frightened. So you ask get frightened. And you run up in my inbox to tell me, well, I deleted that a few minutes ago. That's not how it does work. That's not how it does work at all. I have had comments up on social media that I delete and other people screenshot. And it making the wrongs to today. The internet, unfortunately, is forever. And if you have made a public post like that, expect that somebody somewhere going to screenshot it. Because I is not your friend. I is not Charlene Sammy friend. I is not Rodney Glass Aluminium friend. But somebody who is all your friend screenshot it and send it to me. And I thought to myself, who could be so stupid, not brave, so stupid as to put up a post like this and feel that it's okay to call down this kind of nonsense on your country. And then after you put up the post, after you share the post, right? You're running my inbox to backpedal. No, Liesl. Say it with your whole chest. Say it with your whole chest. Let everybody know exactly how you feel about the country right about now. Let people know that you're so upset with how things are in the country, that what you want to see is not things improve or be on the up and up or get better. You actually want to see bloodshed, mayhem, and chaos. Because in your mind, that for you is what would be better than the sitting government. And that's the thing that has always confused me when I see posts like this. You are basically calling for bloodshed, unrest, mayhem, chaos in a country that you call yourself citizen of because you're that upset with the government. Me and Ofana Kamla Prasad Bisesa, I make no bones about that. I tell people all the time, I think that Kamla Prasad Bisesa's 63 months is the worst 63 months this country ever had to go through. I think she's the worst leader this country has ever had. I cannot think of a political leader and a prime minister that was worse than Kamla Prasad Bisesa. Kamla Prasad Bisesa has put women in leadership back by a good 40 years, just with the 5 years that she was in office for. She lies, she tampered with our constitution, she tampered with the treasury, she is divisive. And every single complaint that I have about Kamla Prasad Bisesa, I can support my opinions of her with public information. So me had to go and look for no hidden receipts nowhere to support the claims that I have to make where Kamla Prasad Bisesa is concerned. She is racist. She on the record saying racist things repeatedly over and over and over again. She's stupid. She on the record repeatedly saying stupid things over and over again. She accessed the treasury to benefit members of her family and her close and her friends. That on public record. Right? It on public record. Where she actually had to remove people and push his sister and her family out of the prime minister's residence because the thing was looking bad. Right? It was looking bad. Then you have all of the questions about money missing and where money went and how money missing from this state entity and that state entity. So no. At no point in time do I feel bad about saying to anybody that I think that the United National Congress under Kamla Prasad Bisesa is the worst government we ever had for 63 months. And in that 63-month period, not once did I wish that there was a coup in Trinidad and Tobago. Not once. Not once did I think that what we needed was for some sort of uprising to overthrow Kamla. I was content to wait until the 2015 general elections and vote hard and encourage people to vote and vote she backside out of office. You see, I understand what unrest like what you and your friends calling on the country could do to our place. I understand that when you put too much power in the hands of police and army, all kind of wildness could take place. I understand that a coup d'etat could easily lead to a military dictatorship in a country. And we have enough evidence globally in other countries of how coups led to decades of military dictatorship in a country. But you know something, Lizelle? You and your friends, Charlene and Rodney, all you're not well read enough to understand what all you're calling down on the country. And so that's why all you will think is okay to sit down behind all your keyboards and post up them kind of shit posts on social media. And when you get make out, running people inbox to backpedal and backtrack. No. When you want to call down shit on the country, say it with your whole chest. Loosen up your chest. Say it with your whole chest. Right? Because like all you so don't know world history and thing. All you don't watch news. All in know world history. Them kind, straight over all your head. Straight over all your head. The final thing I want to talk about tonight. Where the video, boy? All you see the latest press release from Kamala Persad-Bissessar about vaccine vagrant. Y'all would have seen that, right? I know everybody see the vaccine vagrant thing. So I looked at that, and of course I remembered the other posts, right? And as I'm segueing from Liesl Das to this, I don't want to forget that Kamala Persad-Bissessar a couple weeks ago, in a press release, would have basically made her own seditious statements, right? Implying that we could have another 1990 coup here. So Kamala, in making those wild statements as opposition leader, would have empowered people like Charlene Sammy and Aluminium Roger and Liesl Das to feel that it's okay to come out and make further seditious statements, right? So Kamala leading the charge with all of the nastiness that she put in press releases. So she put out another nasty press release that is, it is the lowest of the low. And I want to tell you something about Kirk Megu. Before I tell you the thing about Kirk Megu, do I want to play this video, boy? I'm not sure. I ain't make up my mind. It was circulating and it was... Let me see.
Welcome back to the...
Okay. I'll go play it. So they could see Kirk, and then we're going to talk about Kirk a little bit, and then I'm going to wrap up and go and cook again, because I had to cook. I hear people saying play it. Or is it worse? You know, you're real like a box, you know.
Welcome back to the program. And I'd like to welcome to the program as well, Miss Suzette Lowe. Welcome, Suzette.
Hi, Kirk. I'm sorry, we lost connection there for a second.
Okay.
Thank you for having me on your program today.
So, you are an internet sensation, I have to say, and your political views, always get a lot of shares and responses, and you have a very independent political position, and you're a very brave person. And you've started
Over the last couple of months, I have been observing a very disturbing trend with the opposition leader.
First of all, Suzette Lowe is a disturbing trend. Kirk Megu is another disturbing trend. Kirk's accent is a disturbing trend. Like, I don't know, did he stand up in front of a fridge too long? Where did that accent come out from, though? I am so confused. So, at the start of the video, this would have been a couple years, maybe last year, when Kirk and Suzette were good friends, right? They were tight, bosom buddies. Now, Suzette seems to have a problem with how Kirk writes in press releases. But let me let the yeah, exactly. I see somebody say the battle of the fake accents. Let me let the fake accents and them speak to each other.
The opposition leader has put out a press release addressed to all the editors in the newspaper in response to Keith Rowley's press conference yesterday.
Can I just intersplice here and say Dr. Keith Rowley? Because I feel like when you spend time attending a university and doing research and you work hard to get your degree, to get your certification and thing, we should respect the certification. Because I will respect Kamala Silk. Yes, it is self-appointed Silk. But I will say Kamala Persad-Bissessar, SC, MP.
Now, I have noticed that those press releases have been degenerating in terms of content, quality, and decorum. But I think this Trinidad and Tobago, this is about the lowest, most classless, most disgusting, putrid, repulsive press release I have seen coming from the opposition leader.
I want to remind you all something, because we've spoken about it here, and I feel the need to reiterate it. There is a war going on inside the United National Congress, right? An internal war for leadership. There is one faction that is supporting an MP from Oropouche, and there is another faction that is supporting an MP from Siparia, right? So Siparia has she crowd, and Oropouche have a crowd, and the two of them have all this internal bacchanalia going on. There are some persons here who are firmly in the camp of Oropouche, and other persons who relying on the bread and butter from being in the Siparia camp. And the war is currently playing out because as Kamla Persad-Bissessar continues to do things that lowers her office, right? Because those press releases are not being put out as the political leader of the United National Congress, you know. Because if she was just putting it out as the political leader of the United National Congress, nobody cater. Nobody care, right? Because you could ignore her. But she's putting those press releases out as the political leader, as the opposition leader of the parliament. And so that is what gives those press releases heft, weight, in a sense, because she has the opposition leader title. And what she's doing is dragging down the office, weakening the importance of the office, and in the process also weakening our democracy. Because you need a strong, solid opposition to be able to hold a government in check. There is, boy, where I had our letter, boy? I had a letter here. Let me show you this letter. I want to be able to pull this letter up, but I want all it to be all up on my inbox and thing. No, I'll have to do something else with it. I want to show you a letter. I have to give me a few minutes though to be able to show you this letter. But I also want to talk about Kirk Megu. So this week that just went here, this weekend here, a young man made contact with me and said to me that he had a bunch of screenshots that he wanted me to take a look at. Let me pull up those screenshots now. I'm not putting the screenshots up on the screen because I want to protect the person's identity. I was very thankful that the young man was bold enough to come out and let me have an idea of the kind of foolishness that taken place, right? So the exchange was between himself and Kirk Megu. That's what the young man said. And he sent me part of the screenshot so that I could see the name of the nature of the conversation. So here's the interesting thing. Kirk and them and persons within the UNC, and one of these persons is actually a sitting MP in the parliament right now. They are trying to get somebody within the UNC to build a platform like mine. They want somebody in the UNC to do a version of News Source, right? So like a UNC News Source. And I have to say that I quietly laughed at that. I'll tell you why I quietly laughed at that. To do a UNC News Source or to have somebody in the UNC do something like this, they had to be willing to read. Plain and simple. You had to be willing to read. You had to be willing to get up when the day comes, and your first instinct is to open a newspaper or to open an article or to open a piece of legislation and read it. And I don't just mean let your eyes skim over the words. Read it and pull out the important information from it. And you had to be in a position to make connections between things. You had to be able to pause things. You had to be able to think critically. So you have to be in a position where you understand history, you understand politics, you have an appreciation for literature, science, any number of issues, but you had to be willing to put in the work. I don't happen in a vacuum. I don't jump on here and talk to all you for an hour and a half, 2 hours, just so. It is take time, consistent time, to be reading, discussing ideas, having back and forth with people, reaching out to people who are more knowledgeable than I am on issues and holding conversations with them. And not just holding the conversations, being able to listen. If the UNC find anybody like that, all you go through hard. Because Facebook free and open to everybody. Start up your page, go through hard. Nobody can go vex at all you. Because the day all you reach the point where all ready to talk sense and talk the things, we might actually start to see improvement in the place. Because I put it to all you, half the reason we can't see the kind of improvements and the kind of progress we would like to see in Trinidad and Tobago is that the opposition is feckless and useless and myopic and full of shit. That's the easiest way for me to put it. So, Kirk Megu, according to these screenshots here, reach out to the young man and says to the young man that he wants him to build a page that will call out racism. And he says he thinks that we will see more racism from the Afro side than the Indo side. And that whenever the PNM or the media try their sneak attack of Indian racism is a big problem, we will have a whole catalog of evidence showing otherwise. And it's a very important page to put up. And he says, listen to this, I think a lot of African criminal activities against Indos needs to be counted as racism. Because it often is. So Kirk Megu has decided, or he reach out to somebody and he tell the person, put up a page, and on that page you're going to highlight criminal activity that has taken place, but specific criminal activity, right? Where the person who has committed the crime is of African descent, and show that these persons of African descent that have committed crimes against Indo persons, and the underlying message has to be that it's race that is race that has prompted the person to commit the crime, right? So the person says, and this is where I felt that the person was very commendable. He says, I understand where you are coming from, but I believe this can be harmful and it will promote racism. So I want to say to the young man who responded to Kirk Megu in that fashion, kudos to you. It takes guts to turn around and push back at people for pushing an ideology of hate, right? And according to the screenshot here, Kirk continues to say the intellectual voters are the ones swayed by the false accusations of racism because they are so scared of being called racist. So basically he's saying the votes that we refer to as the marginal votes, the middle votes, those marginal voters, those middle voters will not vote for the UNC if the UNC is defined and called out as being racist, because they don't want to be seen as aligning themselves with a racist party. And then he says, but they are also intimidated by the Black Lives Matter narrative. So basically he's saying that the intellectual voters here are afraid of Black Lives Matter, which had me intrigued, because I'm saying to myself, so they're not understanding that Black Lives Matter is an issue of justice, and justice for people of color that have been historically oppressed, if they're not grasping that that is what BLM is about, then are they really intellectual voters? How are we defining intellectual voters, right? So this is like a classic, like, Michael, you are so right. It's a straw man argument. Total straw man argument. And here's the cool thing. The guy that Kirk is talking to says to him, no, we are not intimidated by the Black Lives Matter narrative. And he goes on to say, he says, I promise you this. This is not Kirk. This is the person who's talking to Kirk. Intellectuals are smart enough to see through that. It is the same politics that turns them off. And he says he has lots of examples from prior general elections to now. But I thought it was very interesting that Kirk Megu, according to these screenshots here, or the phone number that is Kirk Megu's phone number, according to these screenshots here, would have felt the need to reach out to somebody to ask them to do a page that promotes racism, to ask them to do a page that was depicting the black community as a criminal community, and as a criminal community that perpetuates crime against members of the East Indian community. And that's where I'm going to wrap up this evening, folks. So on Wednesday and on Friday, I'm going to try to return. I'll be returning to the Black Lives Matter, the emancipation themes, and we're going to be talking about, we're going to be deconstructing the various stereotypes. That's what we're going to continue to do. But I just thought I wanted to come here with you all this evening and talk about a few stories, a few things that I was seeing in the stories that we were seeing in media, so that way, we kind of up to date on current issues as well as our larger thematic emancipation issues. So take care, have a good evening. Try and ask for the best for your country. Those of you that are on here, let's push for the best for ourselves and for the country. Because, some of the things that I was discussing here this evening just had me like, ugh, why, boy? Why? Just why? Anyhow, I going and continue to loosen up my Lucy self this evening, right? I feel like I'm gonna have some wine or something. Ollie, take care. It was nice, as always. It's always nice to spend time with Ollie. Take care. Bye.
There's no place I'd rather